Excellency, merci Excellence. Alors, devinez quoi? Cette troisième édition de la conférence All In est lancée. This third edition of All In is officially open. Je vous laisse au bon soin de Dave Kelly. Moi, je serai à l'Agora à partir de 10h et on va commencer avec Madame Elissa Strom, qui est directrice générale de la stratégie pan-canadienne de l'IA chez CIFAR. Alors, be good to Dave, and I'll see you at the Agora.
You have fun. Thanks again.
Bye.
Merci. Let's hear it from Martine again. Thank you, Martine. And she will be on the Agora stage. So we are going to keep things going. I would like to introduce and keep things moving along. His Excellency, or I should say the Honourable Minister, is with us here. Would you please welcome to the stage Minister Evan Solomon. Come on up, Evan. Welcome.
I'm not Your Excellency.
How are you, my friend?
Not Your Excellency.
You're excellent all the same.
Well, thank you. Not Your Excellency. We've had an Excellency. First of all, good to see everyone. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. How's everyone doing today? Okay. We got a lot to get through today, and I want to, first of all, I want to thank the organizers. Seeing this room is remarkable. All In is run by one of the most incredible teams in this country, Scale AI. You can give them a hand because we're all here for Scale. Scale AI is incredible. They're dedicated to adopting and commercializing AI across this country. They're based right here in Montreal. So Isabelle, Alain, who's right here, Julianne, to your entire team, remarkable work as always. Everyone's here because of you. Thank you. And I also want to welcome this year's Country of Honor, the United Arab Emirates. That was a remarkable presentation you just saw. This is a vital and growing relationship in Canada. As Prime Minister Carney has said, Canada's got to expand our trading partnerships. We've got to attract new investment. We've got to create good jobs here at home. And it is really important to do that. So I want to thank, first of all, and welcome to our country, the Chief of Government Services from the UAE, who you just saw, His Excellency Mohammed bin Talia. That was a remarkable presentation. I was actually with Prime Minister Carney recently with Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan and his delegation from the UAE in June when they visited Ottawa. We had really productive conversations there. And then I've had lots of conversations with my counterpart, His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Olama. So the point is that this relationship is growing. That's why they're the country of the year. I'll be in Dubai next month at GITEX at the conference there to build on this partnership between Canada and the UAE and open new opportunities. So to the delegation of the UAE, bienvenue. Welcome to Canada, and thank you for your partnership at this critical moment. We are at a critical moment. This conference comes at a hinge moment, a moment where we've got a technological revolution colliding with a political realignment. And the choices that we make are going to shape our economy and our democracy and our daily lives for decades to come. Now, I know that's why most of you are here. It's never been more important to give people, entrepreneurs, researchers, the power to build the economy of the future, and we need to do it. Of course, you know this better than anyone else because you're doing it. This is a room of founders and researchers and investors and students. My son is here from McGill, Gideon somewhere, which is great. You're all here to deliver the next big thing. The AI revolution is the birth, not just of a new technology. This is the birth of the age of the entrepreneur. You have more powerful tools in your hands than at any time in history. You can turn your ideas into businesses and create jobs easier than at any time in history. I'll give you an example. I was in Edmonton a few weeks ago at another one of our institutes, Amy, amazing place, and I met a professor named Martha White, machine learning professor at the University of Alberta. She was researching how AI can make water treatment dramatically more effective. 5 years ago, she stays a researcher. Maybe 3 years ago, she stays a researcher. Now, I think I should turn my research into a company. She said to me, I would never consider becoming a CEO, but with these tools I did. I just started a company. She's still teaching incredible students. She's raised more than $7 million in her first round for a company that's treating water around the world. She loves being a CEO. The applications for her technology are dramatic for remote communities here in Canada and around the world. It's incredible. And you see this kind of transformation across over 2,500 AI companies in Canada today, and it's just starting. This is an ecosystem that is growing quickly. And again, you all know this because you're part of it. Because, as we say in this conference, you're all in. I'm here because Canada needs every single one of you. You are Team Canada. And if you're here from abroad, so are you, because Canada is the place to be on all this. But I want to take a step back, and this is what I want to talk about. When we say all in, what do we really mean? And how do we seize the moment? That's the focus of my presentation today. For our government, for our country, all in means building digital sovereignty. Building digital sovereignty. The most pressing policy and democratic issue of our time. That's our mission. But what does that mean? Let me unpack what that means. One, it means that we need a meaningful Canadian sovereign backbone. The people, the power, the compute to build the economy of the future. A digital economy that is free from coercion. Digital economy that someone else can't decide to turn off. A Canadian capacity that shows up with strength to deal with global partners and to welcome global partners. With our own assets, we can engage with the world, trade with the world, bring the world here with strength. Preserving our sovereignty and partnering with the world as equals. That is part of digital sovereignty. After all, and Canadians are absorbing this and they know it, data's king. Whoever controls it, whoever uses it, whoever governs it, will determine our collective prosperity and our security, and sometimes our values. So Canada's got to build a digital backbone that reflects and protects and projects our core values, keeping critical data under Canadian law. Critical data, sensitive data. Backing Canadian builders, our innovators, our entrepreneurs, so that their ideas become thriving Canadian companies is also part of that. That means we need headquarters and jobs and our IP here at home. Canada as the AI head office, not as the branch plant. That's another part of it. This way AI will serve all Canadians for the better. And this is what? It has to be in the service of people. And we can be all in on this. And I've been traveling the country, and who's all in? The farmer in Saskatchewan who's boosting yields with smart farms powered by companies like Raven in Regina. Incredible. The doctor in North Bay, where my wife grew up, detecting osteoporosis early through routine x-rays enhanced by AI from 16-bit in Toronto. By the end of this speech, by the way, you'll know every member of my family, my daughter, my son, my wife. I'll just bring you all in. You got the offshore worker in Newfoundland keeping platforms safer and cleaner with digital twins from Anamco in St. John's. And here in Quebec, the miner in northern Quebec, supplying the world with responsibly sourced critical minerals tracked end-to-end by AI from Optel in Quebec City. Transformational companies. But let's also be clear something about sovereignty. And this is really important to our global partnerships. Sovereignty does not mean solitude. Canada will continue to partner with and trade with our friends and allies internationally not just including, but especially with the United States and many trusted allies like the UAE and many, many, many others. The EU, countries around this world. And global companies and hyperscalers are a vital part of the ecosystem. They bring a lot of innovation. They always will be, and welcome here. But like any country, Canada must own the tools and the rules that matter at this critical moment. We need our digital insurance policy, and that's what we're building. That's our mission. Once we do, of course, as I say, we will continue to partner with the world's best innovators and technologies, but we have the confidence that our core data remains secure, that Canadians feel secure, on terms that reflect our values and in ways that make Canada the place the world wants to build. After all, AI is kind of our brand. It's kind of our thing. Like, I know we don't like to trumpet things, but AI, modern AI, took shape in this country. I mean, you know these faces. Jeffrey Hinton in Toronto, Rich Sutton in Edmonton, right here in Montreal, Joshua Bengio. And you could clap because Joshua's probably here. I'll be meeting him later. I mean, that's pretty incredible. We launched the world's first national AI strategy in 2017. We built these remarkable institutes that are world leading. Mila, right here, Vector in Toronto, Amy in Edmonton. They're leading the way in talent and research and credibility. They're doing remarkable things. But here's the thing. Leadership is not a birthright. It has to be earned again and again, and the competition is fierce. That's why we got to be all in on building our digital sovereignty. So the landscape's clear. There's a lot of talk about jobs. There are 150,000 people in Canada working in Canada's AI sector. And the tech sector alone is about 800,000 people, the fastest growing sector in this country. This is one of the key engines of progress. And there are 40 million Canadians who are looking at all of us, and their jobs and their health and their futures are going to be shaped by this technology, and they know it. And that's why we got to stick to our values and our principles that AI must serve everybody. So we're going to all spend the next couple days looking at some remarkable innovation. But let's remember, technology moves at the speed of innovation, but adoption moves at the speed of trust. If we want people to absorb, use, and invest, they've got to trust it. So our mission together is to close the gap. And if we get it right, we won't just build the next app or the next cool company and the next billion-dollar, maybe trillion-dollar company. We'll build a stronger country. And we'll secure our digital sovereignty. So let's get to how we do that. A couple things on our mission that will be unfolding in the next number of months. One, trust and safety. We're going to modernize Canada's privacy and data laws. They are more than 25 years old. We're going to include protections for consumers who are concerned about things like deepfakes, and protection for children, because that's a big, big issue. And we're going to set clear standards for the use of data so innovators have clarity to unlock investment. Trust also means safety. Canadians aren't going to embrace AI if they fear deepfakes, if they fear scams, if someone's talking only about job losses and displacement. We need to keep people secure so AI is not just seen, but is an opportunity in the tool to serve people better, to deliver better service, and not a threat. And when Canadians see that, because they got to see it, when they trust AI, they'll use it. They'll use it farming, they'll use it in healthcare, they'll use it in teaching, they'll use it in government, they'll use it to create new ideas. The second key pillar, capital, customers, and compute. For the past 4 months, my team and I have been speaking with founders and entrepreneurs and researchers around the country. First of all, if you ever take a month and want to do a backpacking holiday, just backpack to across this ecosystem. Like, I'm telling you, the most incredible things are happening in this country from coast to coast to coast. At our universities, our commercializing. This country's got to celebrate its own stories. The success coming out of Canada is remarkable. But three things emerged from almost everyone. We need capital. So we're going to roll out new tools so Canadian innovators can scale here at home and unlock more capital at seed and early stage so they can get it here, not just abroad, by helping startups attract patient capital and keeping their headquarters here. We got to turn their early breakthroughs into global companies that are rooted here but stay here. Second, they all say we need customers. So we'll lead by example through the government. Government procurement. What a great word in the morning, right? Government procurement. Like, it's like a medicine. It's really important. Some people call it the demand side. Don't just get on the supply side, get on the demand side. And that's really important. Government is a powerful validator and a powerful customer. And it can create markets for Canadian-made AI solutions. You saw, by the way, we already did a memorandum of understanding with Cohere, our strategically important LLM, to show that. We've also got our defense industrial strategy that will unlock dual-use opportunities for your technologies, an absolutely vital tool used in many other countries, will be used much more here. And third, compute. Capital, customers, compute. Sovereign compute, sovereign cloud is not just a slogan, it is a mission. And it means Canadian data, not all Canadian data, the key sensitive data as I talk about, stays under Canadian law, safeguarded in Canadian controlled data centers. Okay, it's really important. Not to cut off innovation or cut off partnerships, but as our digital insurance policy. Part 3 of the mission, talent and the next wave. Our competitive edge in this country is you. It's our people. That's why we attract talent, and that's why we need to continue to attract the best talent that is now looking for a home and keep our best minds here. Now, how are we going to do that? There's lots of strategies. I want to tell you about one, not just in AI, but in another frontier technology that's connected and really important, in quantum. In October, we're going to launch a major quantum initiative. The next wave of breakthroughs has to happen here, and it's a really important initiative for our quantum companies and our quantum industries to make sure that the talent, the brains, and the IP stays in Canada. We will be unrolling that in October very shortly, so stay tuned for that. The goal here is not to be the farm team for someone else's economy. We're not growing companies only to have someone buy it up and move. And for the national sprint, later this month we'll launch Canada's AI Strategy Task Force with innovative thinkers from across the country who have crowded in with us, which has been fantastic, from all different places. And we've given them 30 days to add to our collective consultation process that we've done with many others. And they're going to sprint on the 8 priorities you can see on the screen behind me. So everything from research, adoption, commercialization, safety, education, infrastructure. And they're going to deliver bold, practical ideas that move quickly from paper to practice. And in November, they'll report back to me. And later this year, almost 2 years ahead of schedule, we will table a refreshed national AI strategy, moving from principles to projects and ideas to impact. This is going to be our roadmap. It was supposed to be at the end of next year. Can't afford to wait. We need to update and move quickly. Canada's got to stay competitive. We've got to stay trusted. We've got to stay innovative in this global AI race. So this is a national project, building the economy of the future. In another time, we'd be talking about railroads. We'd be talking about building a railroad or a Trans-Canada highway. But today we're talking about our digital infrastructure. And the Prime Minister talks a lot about major national projects. And he's announced a lot recently. And notice in the announcement, he also included digital infrastructure. Absolutely key. We have to include a digital infrastructure to build the economy of the future. So here's my final ask. Over the next 2 days, while you're here, you're going to meet each other, but make sure you connect. More importantly, bet on each other. Take the risk here. Buy from each other. We're going to, you're going to. Grow and connect your global partners, many of you who are here. The UAE is here as our country of the year, which is fantastic. That is one example. The Prime Minister is in Europe and Asia. He's in the US today, growing partnerships. New partnerships with Indonesia today. This is absolutely, people want to come here. They want to bring their capital here, and we want to do business with them. But we have to make sure we're doing it right. So root yourself in Canada. This is our mission. So the next couple of months, we will unfold the operational side of our digital sovereignty plan. And together, we can seize it. So I ask you this, if we're really going to be all in, let's be all in together over the next 2 days. I look forward to meeting all of you and being all in. Lots of things on stage. Merci, thank you very much, and have a great conference.
Hello again, everyone. Those of you that are going to the Agora stage, if you're staying here and you notice an empty seat beside you, if you could squeeze away from the aisles, just so that the folks who are trying to find seats aren't shuffling in and out but can find that. So if you do that, that'd be great. It's great that everyone is here. Speaking of everyone is here, what I find astounding about this conference is the people they bring up for the panel conversations. These aren't just folks they found anywhere. These are high-powered and very influential people, as you will see with our next panel. So we're going to continue the conversation. Thank you very much, Minister. This panel, we're going to keep the conversation going. We are welcoming the Vice President of Generative AI Software for Enterprise at NVIDIA. Kari Briski is going to be joining us. The co-founder and CEO of Cohere, Aidan Gomez, is going to be joining us on stage. Along with, we'll welcome back the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation in Canada, the Honourable Evan Solomon. And to lead this whole conversation, we're very excited to have keynote speaker, best-selling author, host of AmberMac Show, a podcast on Sirius XM, AmberMac. Let's welcome these esteemed folks to the stage. Come on up.
I think you're in the far seat.
I think I'm in the far seat. Thank you again. That's good.
Good morning, everyone. Let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Minister Solomon, I'm sure you want a break from speaking, but I am going to ask the first question to you. So, really great to understand Canada's plans for the future of AI. One question I wanted to ask you, I think it's fair to say that everybody in this room is all in, but we also know when it comes to Canadians that more than half of Canadians in this country are worried about the future of AI. Like you mentioned, they're worried about their jobs, they're worried about their kids using AI, they don't have trust in AI. What do we do to potentially solve that very critical issue?
Well, good to be back. That was the shortest break ever. First of all, great to see Amber and Kari and Aidan and I speak a lot, and trust is so key. Look, we have the AI Canadian Safety Institute. Later today, you can hear from Joshua Bengio and Law Zero, so there's lots of initiatives. But the first and foremost thing, there's a legal side. I mean, it's a priority for us to update our privacy and data laws because people have to feel secure. And those are 25 years old, and they deal with data flow, and they deal with things like, consumers and deep fakes. So we have a role to play on the legislative side, not just as a signal to people, but as a signal to businesses. That's the first thing. And that's not the only, there's other aspects. The Justice Minister, I should just say, my colleague Sean Fraser, has spoken just the other day about using the criminal code as well for certain kind of violations that relate to kids. So, look, people recognize there are new vectors of threats, and they need our legislation to keep up. So that's one side. The second side is understanding. Amber and I have known each other for a long time, and when you see waves of technology, they always come with anxiety. And this is not from Amber's age, but more my age, during the Gutenberg printing press. But the first printing press, the first modern printing press was the Aldine printing press in Venice. And after Gutenberg invents it, people are starting to make books, and they didn't have copyright laws, and there's a lot of anxiety that the cathedrals of memory would collapse. And they did, by the way. And the Aldine printing press had their logo, their colophon was the anchor and the dolphin. And their Latin motto, for those of you who still speak Latin, was Festima Lente, which means make haste slowly. Make haste slowly. That's what we have to do. We got to move quickly to keep up, but we got to make haste slowly. That means talking about AI and understanding it as a service. And Aidan and I talk about this a lot. It is a tool. And Kari people talk about data centers. NVIDIA talks about data factories, AI factories that produce something called a token. That may not be clear what that is for everybody across the country. But again, You know, when we built railroads and roads, the towns sprung up around them. And so we've got to talk about this first as a service. How will this make people's lives better on health, on agriculture, on the things that they see, touch, and feel? Then we have to celebrate the entrepreneurs who have the tools to create new jobs that have not been imagined. And then we have to make sure people do it secure. And that's part of our job. And we can't just talk to people at conferences like this. We've got to talk to everybody to let them know, like in any technical revolution, anxiety comes and comfort comes over use case and a feeling of trust.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of anxiety. Kari, one of the things the minister said in his speech was that sovereignty does not mean solitude, and I think that was a really good point. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the work that NVIDIA does. I was listening to a podcast interview that you did earlier this year, where you said that nations were some of the first movers when it comes to AI and understanding the value of AI infrastructure. Can you talk a little bit further about that?
Yeah, I think that all nations should develop their own AI instead of just solely outsourcing it to an external provider. And the reason is simple. It's because AI needs to be aligned to your local values. It needs to understand your cultural context, your norms and your policies. It needs to speak and write in your nuanced natural language patterns. And so it's not something that can be your digital intelligence is not something that can be outsourced. And you know, about 4 years ago, I actually was moderating a panel with AI Sweden, and they had built the first Scandinavian LLM. And you know, nobody cares more about the Swedish culture and the Swedish language than Sweden. And since then, you know, we've worked with the Sarvan model in India had 10 Indic languages, and then Swallow model in Japan, and on and on and on. Speaklish in Poland, and Domain in Italy, and my good friend Arthur Mensch is going to come out here and talk about Mistral in France. And I think the point is these model builders recognize it starts with the local model, but that's not the end of it. Right? What needs to happen, and the thing that we're trying to talk about, is that the local model will attract developers. And so when developers start to build, they need infrastructure to build and to build these applications. And then when you have, when they're building these applications, then people interact with them, and then that creates more data, and they give explicit feedback. And so then you're able to, again, create trust through transparency and use, and that little by little. And then you are able to take that data and then improve the model. And so it gets better over time. And so I think that's what's really important.
I'm going to come back to you on this, but Aidan, I wanted to go to you next in terms of Canada and Canada's role. You have been a huge champion for this country, even wearing Canadian plaid today, so thank you for that. You also recently posted on X, and yes, I'm still on Twitter, that Canada is the best country in the world. The experience of services it provides its citizens should be the best in the world, too. Can you talk about the partnership with the Canadian government to enhance public services with secure, sovereign AI tech?
Yeah, I think what we're doing with the government, our intention is to do what we're doing with the private sector, which is just make the quality of products, in this case, the services that the government offers to the citizens, much higher, while also making that delivery dramatically more efficient. So our priorities are, when you're a Canadian and you need something from your government, it should be easier, faster, and better to get that done. It shouldn't be complicated. So we want to drive that, and then we also want that to be efficient, effective. We want each person inside an organization to be dramatically more productive, and at the same time, doing what the minister and Kari have said, which is preserving sovereignty. So ensuring that our data isn't going into the wrong hands so that it's vulnerable to being used against us, and ensuring that Canadian data stays in Canadian data centers and with Canadian companies. So that's the objective, and I think we're making good strides towards that.
Aidan, the minister talked a little bit about the timing. You know, it is a very exciting time right now. Can you comment on that a little bit about why now is the right time to do this in Canada?
I think there's an opportunity where, like the minister was saying in the opening remarks, Canada led on the development of this technology. We were the first ones to invest in the research when no one else believed in it. There was Jeff, there was Joshua, and our government, our public institutions, research institutions took a bet on deep learning that almost no one else was willing to make. And that led to where we are today. We're in this sort of magical moment where computers have woken up and we can speak to silicon. We can speak to some glass and metal. And it's a surreal moment, and Canada delivered that to the world. But we should also be the ones to actually commercialize it. We shouldn't just do the research part and then hand it away to the rest of the world to make money on it and actually put it into production inside the world's economies. We should be the ones to do that. And in order for us to succeed in delivering that to the world, we have to be our own first customer. And so I've seen in this moment in Canada, there's a lot of geopolitical changes that are happening. Canadians are stepping up. The ambition, the willingness to invest and take risk, which 2 years ago I didn't see, right? Like 99-point-something% of our revenue was outside of Canada. Now, this year, it really feels like both public and private sector have woken up.
Yeah, I think I interviewed you a couple of years ago, and we were still in kind of those early days and a lot of apprehension. Minister Solomon, I wanted to talk about innovation, but more specifically regulation. This is a massive topic right now in the minds of so many people. When we think about trust and safety, it is true that these are really values that Canada has today. We are a trusted country. When you think about the future of regulation, as so many countries in the world move away from regulating AI, is there an opportunity for Canada to play a really important role here, all while we also innovate as well?
Absolutely. First of all, just to echo what Aidan said, and Kari, digital sovereignty is a core policy issue. And again, as you said, Amber, it's not solitude, but there is a moment, and you're seeing at Cohere great new partnerships with Canadian companies, not just with the government. Canadian investors, which is great. That's happening. There's a whole bunch of companies watching us they say, okay, how do I unlock some of that capital so I can stay here? Where's my seed investor? What about Series A? Where's my VCs? Again, we are very aware of that element of the backbone, that kind of vertebrae, and we are very, very focused in the days to come and the Prime Minister's been clear about this in our platform, unlocking access to make sure that entrepreneurs have better access to capital at that level and then right up the chain. On the regulatory side, first of all, we need some clear lines because uncertainty freezes capital investment. And there's a lot of uncertainty around the world. What can we do here? Maybe 10 seconds on the landscape. The United States and China, they have a position that any form of regulation is a constraint on security and innovation. And then the EU a couple years ago went ahead and they tried to regulate, and they have found, and they're quite open about it, that it's done some good things, but it's constrained a lot of innovation. And Canada, I really feel that I get all the kind of crappy, boring technical stuff here, and these guys do the cool stuff. But I'm just going to say, in our last parliament, there was a piece of legislation on privacy and data called C27, wake up, C27, but it was about privacy data, and there was a third element of it that was going to regulate AI, and it was very, very controversial. And so what I have said publicly in our legislative priority is I am very keen on part 1 and 2 because we desperately need an update to protect our privacy and our data, especially how data flows across borders. Especially then we need to add, we have to be present. We got to meet people where they're at. And where they're at is like, I don't want to see deep fakes. I want to make sure if someone does a deep fake, or if Amber, there's a deep fake of you on there saying something, what can you do about it? So that kind of thing is real, and we got to look at that. So we're going to try to address that. We got to address things, sensitive information around children. And you hear stories about this all the time. So we've got to meet people, but that's the first part of the legislative journey. Now, can we, William, tell this and pick off the apple on the head on the perfect regulation? No. Because we don't know, there's no way right now perfect way to regulate AI that allows for perfect innovation. And So we have to be really careful. So we've got to decide to be laser focused on those key things. Keeping Canadian sensitive data safe with sovereign infrastructure that Aidan just talked about and Kari's talked about, and I've talked about, core to our mission. Privacy, data, kids, consumers, that's a huge part of it. That allows a big open window for innovation still, but for Canadians to feel safe. This is a high-tech world. Legislation can't move, has to move the same way that technology evolves, which is iteratively, right? Like, we've got to be nimble in how we focus, because, you know, it is pointless to try to throw a saddle on a horse that's bucking and running. Like, we got to make sure we can do it and control what people want us to control. And by the way, we can, but we got to make sure we don't miss this innovation train. And I think we're going to strike that balance. And the key is to be transparent about it, and not to promise a regulatory fantasy that Canada, because Canada can do things alone and be digitally sovereign, but we're a trading nation. We have more free trade relationships than any other country in the world. Our competitive asset is that people want to do business here, and we want to do business with the world. We can't constrain our #1 competitive asset: rule of law, educated population, great talent churning out, trusted place, natural resources. Those are our competitive advantages, and we have to make sure in protecting those, our regulation doesn't suffocate those.
Since you're throwing out a lot of old sayings, I will also add, you know, we can't let perfect be the enemy of good. You know, perhaps we need good regulation. It's not going to be perfect yet. Aidan,
it could be perfectly good, though. Right?
That is fair.
That's what we hope.
Yeah, perfectly good. I would be happy with that. Aidan, in line with this conversation on trust and safety, you speak a lot about the importance of security as well. You wrote recently, "We don't treat security as a feature, it's the foundation." Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so Cohere's deployment model is quite different from some of the other players in our space. We do fully private deployments, so that means we can go into any data center on any cloud or off of cloud. And we can go all the way to air-gapped, where you unplug that data center from the internet and it's completely secure. There's no other organization in the AI space who's delivering this technology, these agents, that securely. And so that's something that we're super proud of, we view as a huge differentiator. And it's the ultimate guarantee in protection of your data. There's so much fear that whether you're in the private sector and it's your trade secrets, your IP, your employees are uploading this into ChatGPT or consumer services, and then it leaks to some external company that might train on that data, and then it becomes public information. Whereas with Cohere, there's no sending data externally. You aren't sending your data to Cohere. Cohere is sending our models and our tech to you, and you run it in your data center. So that guarantee of security is something that people have been previously lax about, and now are taking seriously. There's this renewed urgency towards privacy, towards sovereignty, where we understand how valuable data is, how sensitive it is, and that we actually need to protect it.
Kari, when you look at what Cohere is doing with the Canadian government, it's a great example of alignment and collaboration. I know NVIDIA has been doing this for a long time in terms of collaborating. Most recently, there was an announcement that NVIDIA is helping to build the UK's AI industrial revolution. What can you tell us about the importance of this investment?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to take a second and congratulate Canada and Cohere on supporting sovereign AI and sovereign models on local infrastructure. I mean, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, the UK announcement, so we had announced that a number of NVIDIA AI infrastructure partners are going to deploy 120,000 GPUs. That's 11 billion UK pounds of AI infrastructure. And additionally, there was Jensen mentioned a $2 billion investment fund with local capital investment firms. And the point is, I don't think it's really about the announcement. The point is really the takeaway is when you have world-class universities and researchers, which you have here, and startups, which you have here in Canada, and capital investment firms, when you bring that all together, you can have them rally around a national infrastructure. I mean, it just lays the foundation for innovation. And so it really does take, it's not just about the infrastructure, it takes the entire, all the developers, it takes the entire ecosystem. You have to come together to build it together.
We just have a few minutes left, so a couple more questions for our panel today. Minister Solomon, I wanted to ask about Canadian business leaders, because this is a question I think a lot of them have. I do a lot of speaking on this topic, and I always get asked the question, what can I do as a business leader today to adapt to this AI journey and integrate AI into my business? What would your advice be for people who want to be proactive right now?
I would say three things, Amber. First, buy Canadian. To a certain extent, you got to use our Canadian partners. We have great companies here. Second, there's going to be great innovators like NVIDIA that are international partners, and those partnerships matter, and they'll work with you within your own sense of safety and security. So that's the first thing. There's great innovation here. Even our international partners and the greatest innovators around the world are working together because they appreciate the need to build the ecosystem here. That's the first thing. The second thing is have a plan. Adopting technology for the sake of the technology is not the plan. Adopting technology for the sake of the service delivery is the plan. Clear metrics and clear customer change. So you've got to have clear metrics. And the partners, the good partners in this technology, and you're seeing them here, and you're probably seeing them all through this entire All-In conference, and there's many, will help partner on that. Look, investing, a lot of CEOs, in Canada, we have a low adoption rate. Now it's changing, it's changing almost by the day. The curve is bending up. But we are about 8 to 10% in adoption rate behind the rest of the OECD in terms of AI usage. So that's a productivity issue. That's a competitive issue, okay? And investing in R&D and investing in solutions to drive not just efficiency but productivity is really important. But the best partners will help design a bespoke system that delivers the service. So I would just say, first, look around here, right? There's lots of great Canadian companies. 2, invite your international partners to join that plan. And 3, have a good strategic plan to adopt. And finally, this is something in government that we got to avoid, pilot-itis, right? We don't want pilots that die. Again, in the business of technology, when you iterate, you adapt and you grow. You adapt and you grow. You don't have to be, and Amber, you said it, and I think Jensen Huang, I was with Jensen at a dinner recently, and he said, he was talking to some people, he said, the problem with all of you people, and everyone kind of held their breath, he said, is that you're too perfect. You wait till everything's perfect. In our business, you've got to launch and see and test and then keep growing. And so don't be afraid to get a little mucky on this.
Absolutely.
Aidan, maybe I can ask you to follow up to that. So buy Canadian, have a plan, partner. What else would you say to Canadian business leaders?
Yeah, no, I just want to echo what Minister Solomon said, which is that ambition and risk tolerance, which is something that Canadian organizations have lacked historically. Actually leaning in, taking a bet, not being satisfied with just doing endless little POCs, science experiments, but also not being satisfied with, if your AI strategy is, I bought Microsoft Copilot or my employees use ChatGPT, you don't have an AI strategy. That is not a strategy. That is like the absolute bottom of the stack in terms of value creation. And so you need a strategy, you need actual concrete objectives and a path towards true ROI.
All right, well, we just have 2 minutes left. I want to just get some closing remarks from each of our panelists today. Kari, starting with you, just some advice for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would double down on just get started today and what AI has been is it closes the technology divide. It's been closing that gap. And if you haven't already, or if your family hasn't already, or your business hasn't already, there's so many amazing applications because you can go out, and Aidan said it earlier, you can go out and you can just talk to your computer. I mean, the amount of people that can talk to your computer is vastly greater than the amount of people who know how to program in C++ or Python. And I'll say that my 12-year-old daughter went out and there's apps, and she created an application to track her gymnastics scores and have AI evaluate her and speak just by talking to it. And the thing was, you can see the code, so trust through transparency. You could see all that code being written for her. And I felt like an old grandma. I was like, Daddy and I used to have to write all of that code by hand. And she was not impressed.
Yes, just like the days of the printing press.
But go do it. Just go out. There's so many great apps to just get started today.
Aidan, you've already given us lots of great advice. Some final words from you.
Yeah, no, I think this is Canada's moment to take this technology from the research phase, which I was a part of. I grew up in Ontario. I went to U of T. It's where I met my co-founders. We now have the opportunity to take this research that we invested in, we took the risk, we bet on, and developed for the world, and put it into production. And to do that, we're going to have to be ambitious, we're going to have to take risks, and we're going to have to lead. And so I think that's for everyone in this room, every single citizen inside of Canada to think about. What does that mean, and what can I be doing to push that forward inside of my organization or my day-to-day life? There's a huge opportunity in front of us. We just need to choose to seize it.
Minister, we're almost out of time, but just a few seconds from you for closing remarks.
First of all, thank you, and continue the work. Canada's moment for sure, if we're ambitious and we take the right bets. Bet on each other, I would say. But the foundational message to me is people. Like, don't pit the technology against people. This is a tool for entrepreneurs and a tool for better service. And if we show people that, you will find this room doubling, and I know it will because the Scale AI people are awesome. It will grow and grow and grow. We want people to crowd into this space because this is a service tool to make our lives better. And that's the most important thing in this. Really, we're in a crisis. This is a helpful tool to grow our country and our economy for everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Montreal.
Thank you.